For Sarah, adopting Kenji, a bright-eyed Shiba Inu, promised a life full of joy and companionship. But from their very first week together, a deep-seated fear emerged, casting a shadow over their future. Kenji was terrified of the car, and this wasn't just a minor inconvenience. It was a profound, paralyzing anxiety that threatened to limit their world. The day Sarah brought Kenji home, his excitement was palpable. He bounded through the house, exploring every corner with curiosity, his red sesame fur a blur of happy motion. But the moment his leash was clipped, signaling a trip to the vet for a routine checkup, his demeanor shifted drastically. Outside, the car sat innocently in the driveway, a silver sedan like any other. Yet for Kenji, it was a looming metal monster. He dug his paws in, refusing to budge, his small body rigid with terror, tail tucked low. Sarah tried gentle coaxing, then offering his favorite chicken jerky, but Kenji was unresponsive, his expressive eyes wide with fear, a low, guttural whine rumbling deep in his chest. Getting him into the back seat was a struggle, a heartbreaking battle against pure, paralyzing panic, leaving Sarah breathless and Kenji trembling in his carrier. That initial vet trip was just the beginning of a relentless challenge. Over the next few weeks, Sarah dedicated herself to helping Kenji, her determination unwavering. She tried everything she could research: positive reinforcement with high-value treats, luring him with his favorite squeaky toys, even leaving the car doors open for hours, hoping he might explore on his own terms. But Kenji wouldn't even step a single paw inside. He would pace nervously around the vehicle, occasionally sniffing a tire or the bumper, but never venturing closer to the inviting, open door. The car remained an impenetrable fortress of fear, a silent, unyielding boundary that neither treats nor Sarah's endless patience seemed able to cross. Sarah started to feel the immense weight of this challenge, realizing how profoundly it restricted their shared lives. Routine tasks quickly became logistical nightmares, turning simple errands into draining ordeals. Every vet appointment required immense planning, often involving a kind friend or neighbor, to gently yet firmly guide a trembling Kenji into the vehicle, a process that left them both exhausted and emotionally drained. Trips to the dog park, a scenic hike beyond their neighborhood, or even a simple drive-through coffee run were entirely out of the question. Sarah longed to take Kenji on grand adventures, to let him experience the wider world beyond their fence, but his fear held them both stubbornly captive. She consulted local trainers, watched countless online behavior videos, but nothing seemed to touch the deep-rooted anxiety Kenji harbored towards anything with four wheels. It felt like they were stuck in an emotional stalemate, unable to move forward, and Sarah often wondered if this was a battle she could ever truly win. Then, an urgent, unexpected phone call from across the country shattered their quiet routine and changed everything. Sarah's elderly grandmother, living several states away, had suffered a serious fall, requiring Sarah's immediate and prolonged presence. This wasn't a choice. It was an undeniable necessity. Flying was far too complicated with Kenji's intense anxiety, and the short notice and leaving him with a sitter for an unknown, potentially lengthy period was unthinkable for Sarah. The only viable option was a long cross-state road trip, a daunting prospect that filled Sarah with apprehension. Her heart sank at the thought of what this extended journey would do to Kenji. The short, terrifying rides were bad enough. A journey of hundreds of miles seemed utterly impossible, a cruel test of his limits. But there truly was no alternative. She had to take him, hoping against hope that somehow he would find the resilience to endure. The morning of the trip was thick with palpable dread. Kenji sensed Sarah's tension, pacing restlessly as she packed the car, his tail uncurled and low. Getting him inside was the worst struggle yet, his body a dead weight, his cries echoing mournfully in the quiet morning. Once finally secured in his travel crate, he trembled uncontrollably, panting heavily, his breath fogging the plastic. As Sarah pulled out of the driveway, Kenji pressed himself desperately against the back of his crate, a picture of pure misery. For the first few hours, every bump, every turn, every passing truck sent shivers through his small, shaking frame. Sarah glanced repeatedly in the rearview mirror, her stomach churning with profound guilt, wondering if she was doing more harm than good. Mile after mile, the highway stretched on, an endless ribbon of asphalt. Sarah tried talking to Kenji in a soothing voice, playing soft music, but nothing seemed to penetrate his fear. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, as the hours wore on, something within Kenji shifted. Perhaps it was the rhythmic hum of the road, or sheer exhaustion, but his frantic panting lessened. He still lay low in his crate, but the frantic shaking subsided to a mere tremor. Sarah noticed him tentatively lift his head, his eyes no longer wide with pure panic, but rather cautiously observing the fleeting landscape. During a brief rest stop, she offered a small piece of his favorite cheese, and for the very first time on a car ride, Kenji gently took it. It was a tiny, almost insignificant victory, but for Sarah it felt monumental, a fragile flicker of hope in their long, arduous journey. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they arrived at her grandmother's house. Kenji, though stiff and wary, exited the car with a newfound cautiousness rather than outright terror. He sniffed the unfamiliar ground, then trotted inside, exploring the new surroundings with a quiet, careful curiosity. He settled into the routines of the house surprisingly quickly, finding comfort in the stability after the unsettling journey, even accepting gentle pets from Sarah's grandmother. Sarah realized that the long drive had, in a strange way, forced Kenji to accept the car as a means to an end, a way to get to a new, safe, and interesting place. The destination had become a powerful, positive association, something worth enduring the ride for, a crucial breakthrough in his fear. The return journey was remarkably different. While Kenji wasn't leaping into the car, his resistance was significantly less than before. He walked to the door with a hesitant gait, and with gentle encouragement, he allowed himself to be placed in his crate. There was still a degree of apprehension, a slight tremor in his body, but the frantic panic was gone, replaced by a quiet acceptance. He settled much faster, even napping for periods, occasionally lifting his head to watch the passing scenery. Back home, Sarah noticed the biggest, most astonishing change. Days later, when she opened the car door to retrieve something, Kenji approached, sniffing the interior cautiously. Then, to her astonishment, he placed his front paws inside. He didn't stay, but he didn't run either. A significant barrier had been broken, a clear sign of growing trust. Kenji's journey taught Sarah that sometimes the greatest leaps of faith come from facing our deepest fears head-on. His trust in her and her unwavering patience transformed a terrifying ordeal into a pathway to a deeper bond. If you've ever faced a challenge with your beloved pet, remember Kenji's story. Share your own experiences in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Snug Tales for more heartwarming stories of loyalty and transformation.